Now at 5, coronavirus caution, why health experts are very concerned right now as we head into cooler weather and start planning our holiday gatherings.
The Colts get a positive out of a negative. A COVID scare in Week 6 of the NFL season. I'm Brad Brown at Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll show you how it all panned out, and the week will continue for the Colts.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5. Streaming now.
You might have to take it full. I don't know.
We begin tonight with a frosty start to the weekend. Good evening. I'm Amanda Starrentino here with Kevin Gregory, who has your first look at the forecast. Kevin, where do we go from here, down or up in the temperatures?
Almost break even. Let's put it that way. So that means cold still, right? Tonight across central Indiana. Let's talk about our first frost, at least widespread for many this morning. I carved this in the windshield of my car for you. The back window. Frost was rather thick this morning, and it didn't take long, though, with the help of some sunshine to correct that, and temperatures started moving in the other direction. We're at 56 now. Temperatures in western Indiana in the upper 50s. We definitely have some warmer high temperatures coming our way for the weekend. We'll just begin with another frosty start tomorrow morning. Temperatures are poised to drop at least 20 degrees from where we're at now. A good night for Friday night football. Maybe a little cool for those of you at the game. Put on a jacket, take a blanket with you. Temperatures drop into the 40s during the game. The wind will begin to calm down. We've had some wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. There we are tomorrow morning. The most likely spot for freeze conditions will be east of Indianapolis. Lower 30s there. Otherwise, low to mid 30s in most locations. By the time we get to midday, 51 degrees, and your afternoon temperature with windy conditions makes it back into the low to mid 60s. We'll talk about the changes for the second half of the weekend and look into next week as well coming up.
Now to the latest on the coronavirus and its impact on Indiana. The state health department reports a single-day record of 2,328 new positive cases. The health department did say about 300 of those were older cases and were added to a previous reporting error. There were 22 more deaths, bringing the total number to 3,654. Since March, more than 143,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus, and more than 2.4 million tests have been administered in Indiana. And as we head into the holiday season with a surge of COVID-19 cases across the nation, health experts are warning we need to think twice about family gatherings.
We're going to start doing a lot of things more indoors rather than outdoors. And that's when you have to be particularly careful about the spread of a respiratory-borne disease.
At least 38 states are battling a rise in cases, 39 with an increase in hospitalizations, and more than 216,000 Americans have died from the virus since the pandemic began. A new study out from the CDC shows Latino deaths rose dramatically from about 16% in May to 26% in August. Many hospitals across the country are overwhelmed. The Kansas City area breaking its own records with a 7-day average of more than 130 new COVID-19 patients each day.
If we're not able to keep these numbers down, then businesses are going to look at having to close again, and no one wants to get back to that point.
As for that stimulus package, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin say there is progress in economic relief talks. They are discussing a new spending deal between $1.8 and $2.2 trillion. President Trump has said he would support even more, but Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has indicated a bill with that price tag would die in the Senate. The Colts had their own coronavirus issues this morning. The team shut down its facility earlier today after some tests came back positive. But a few hours later, they were right back to work. Brad Brown joins us live from Lucas Oil Stadium, where this weekend's game will go on as scheduled. Brad, how did the day unfold for the team? A lot of back and forth.
Amanda, it was quite the whirlwind of a morning. Let me kind of show you how it started from our end. At 6:40 a.m. this morning, we got our first email from the Colts that said they had indeed shut down the facility, had some positive COVID tests come through, and called it a very fluid situation. The nature of the case was that just 5 hours later, the second round of tests on 4 unnamed individuals came back negative, so they came back to the complex and got back to business as usual. But for just a short period right there, you wondered if this game was going to happen with the Colts and the Bengals here on Sunday afternoon. Once they did get back to work here on Friday afternoon, it was basically business as usual. It was almost as if not really anything had happened. The one thing we did catch a lot more of today, masks on the field. Everybody basically became a requirement out there. Those 4 individuals have been kept away from the facility after their negative test, even as the team tries to maneuver their way through this weekend and this Week 6 game against the Bengals. Head coach Frank Reich talked to us this afternoon. He had a little more to say about his message to the team ahead of this afternoon's session.
In a long conversation with Mr. Irsay last night, just talking about how well I think our players and our organization has done in this regard. I mean, you know, you're never foolproof here. I mean, it can always creep in. Virus is a virus, right? I mean, but I think our guys have done such a good job. We've done, you know, we're not perfect, but I think we've been very diligent. And so, yeah, I was surprised.
Everybody kind of holding their breath for just a little while with all of this. Do keep in mind the NFL had to reschedule 8 games earlier this week. Several teams have been dealing with COVID positive tests and protocols, among them the Patriots, the Vikings, the Titans, the Falcons. Some games have been moved back. Some others moved to Monday afternoon. Tuesday night games, we're seeing the schedule all over the place. But Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, it'll be the Colts and the Bengals. Week 6 will be set to go. Let's take a look ahead to the matchup here as the Colts try to bounce back. After the Colts' first loss this season, they bounced back with 3 pretty impressive wins. So what should we expect after Sunday's disappointment in Cleveland?
We just got to be locked in on all 3 phases, each and every down, and we'll be all right. You know, once we come together as a team and understand that, you know, plays are won and lost off certain mistakes, so we'll be all right.
You just want to get back out there and bounce back as soon as you can. Certainly disappointing loss.
Phillip Rivers' interception and fourth-quarter safety certainly did not help the Colts' efforts, but don't expect the NFL vet to get rattled by one bad game.
You're the same guy, whether you play really good or play really bad. So have gotten better at handling that. I also think that can help in some ways, you know, from a leadership standpoint, can help the other guys.
It was a tale of 2 halves for the Colts defense against the Browns. After giving up 20 points before halftime, that unit settled down for the final 2 quarters.
There's opportunities that we miss. I mean, all the time is crazy. You know, we think we're good, but we can be even better. Just watching the opportunities that we simply just, we missed the layups. And we got to make sure we finish those. And when we're finishing those, I mean, that's when we can be really dominant.
Another rookie stepped up last Sunday for the Colts. Isaiah Rodgers' 101-yard kick return for a touchdown started the Colts' third-quarter resurgence. A big moment as he's coming back from a training camp injury.
You know, after I got the first game under the belt, you know, I actually told a few people back home, like, I feel like this is going to be the one. This is going to be the game. I got my feet wet last week, and, you know, I feel like I'm back to who I am.
Keep in mind, this is only week 6 of the regular season. There's a solid chance we will be having this COVID conversation, positive tests, negative tests, days off, and schedules rescheduled before it's all over. High school football has not been immune to these problems. We will talk about that. We'll be at the biggest game of week 9 for you coming up tonight on the news at 6. We'll see you then. Downtown at Lucas Oil Stadium, Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
Brad, thank you. Right now, Metro Police are investigating a shooting on the east side. It happened just before 1:30 this afternoon in the 900th block of North Linwood Avenue. Police say someone shot a woman who was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition. A man was also injured, but police say he was not shot. Witnesses say some type of disturbance led to shots being fired, but police don't know if there was more than one shooter. South of Indy and New Whiteland, an online sale exchange took a terrifying turn. This happened last night in the 700 block of Hummingbird Lane. Investigators say a Samaritan witnessed 2 people who were roughing up a juvenile during an online sale exchange. The suspects tried to escape in a car, but they crashed. The Samaritan chased after them as they got out of the car and ran away. That's when someone fired shots at the Samaritan. No word on any injuries. If you are looking for seasonal work, the Postal Service is hiring Hoosiers. A drive-through job fair will be held tomorrow from 10 to noon at the post office on West South Street in downtown Indianapolis. Available positions include automotive technicians, city carrier assistants, rural carrier associates, and mail processing clerks. Still ahead on WRTV, Donald Trump and Joe Biden battle it out in separate town hall meetings. Why some insiders say the differences by the 2 candidates could not have been more clear. There is a chill in the air, and that means it's time to turn the heat on for the first time. But that also could mean extra work for firefighters ahead. Some tips on how to stay safe while you're staying cozy. Kevin.
And the colors of rain. This is for Sunday. We'll talk about the timing and how much potential rain that's coming up.
From town halls to hitting the campaign trail, President Donald Trump and opponent Joe Biden are putting the final touches on their bids for the White House with just 18 days until Election Day. Last night, the candidates did not share the stage as originally planned, but did share their visions for America if elected in 2020. Here's ABC's Andrew DYMBURT in Washington.
After their dueling individual town halls, President Trump and Joe Biden back on the trail with just under 3 weeks until the final votes are cast. The president stumping in Florida, where the race is tight.
As president, I'm deeply aware that America's 54 million seniors have borne the heaviest burden of the China virus.
Joe Biden in Michigan today trying to build on his message on affordable health care. Though separated by 1,000 miles on separate stages last night, both candidates fielded similar questions from voters, many demanding answers and a plan on the coronavirus pandemic, which has killed more than 218,000 Americans and counting.
We did the right thing. We were expected to lose 2,200,000 people and maybe more than that. We're at 210,000 people. One person is too much.
It's a presidential responsibility to lead, and he didn't do that. He kept worrying, in my view, about the stock market.
And with unemployment filings hitting record highs for most of 2020 due to the pandemic, economic recovery was also on the minds of voters. Again, Biden and Trump offering opposing views.
We had the greatest economy we ever had. We had to close it down. We saved 2 million lives. We're opening it up. We have a V-shape, and it's coming back.
He talks about a V-shaped recovery. It's a K-shaped recovery. If you're on the top, you're going to do very well.
As the race rounds the corner, the clock is also ticking for Republicans looking to fast-track Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. From his town hall, Biden alluding to the possibility, if elected, he might pack the court with more justices if Senate Republicans successfully confirm Judge Barrett before November 3rd.
If they vote out before the election, you are open to expanding the court?
I'm open to considering what happens from that point on.
And the candidates are scheduled to debate face-to-face one last time before November 3rd. But Joe Biden says that's only if President Trump agrees to a COVID-19 test and tests negative the day of the debate. Andrew DYMBURT, ABC News, Washington.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who is still battling COVID-19, says he was wrong not to follow the CDC's pandemic guidelines. Christie tested positive for the virus a day after President Trump announced he also received a positive result earlier this month. Earlier today on Good Morning America, Christie said he made a big mistake by letting his guard down on the White House grounds.
I was led to believe that, all the people that I was interacting with at the White House had been tested, and it gave you a false sense of security, and it was a mistake. I'd been so careful, George, for 7 months because of my asthma, wearing masks, washing my hands, social distancing. And for 7 months, I was able to avoid the virus in one of the worst hit states in the country, in New Jersey. But I let my guard down, and it was wrong. It was just a big mistake.
Christie says he spent 7 days in intensive care, but now he feels his health is at about 80%. Christie urged Americans to wear masks and take the virus seriously. The first freeze of the season may have led people to power up space heaters for extra warmth, but improper use of space heaters could trigger unexpected fires. We zoomed with Bargersville Deputy Chief Mike Pruitt about safety during this season.
Deputy Chief Mike Pruitt with the Bargersville Fire Department. So here we go in Indiana, our first freeze of the season, a cold morning for many of us, and some of us may turn to space heaters. What is your warning this morning?
Space heater should not be anywhere within 3 feet of a combustible. And when I talk about combustibles, that could be furniture, your bed. Everybody likes to throw the newspapers down, have the little basket next to the chair with the magazines and newspapers in that. And they go to sleep and they don't realize that's inside 3 feet. And over time, this is not something we see where it just bursts into flames automatically. It breaks down the materials and eventually catches on fire. So the big thing is 3 feet away, and also keeping that away from children and pets. So if they're high traffic areas, that's the last place we want a space heater.
More people are at home and more of these things are being connected to every available outlet in our home.
So when we start overloading outlets, or we decide we want to extend that space heater across a room to put it closer to us, maybe we don't have an outlet right there close to us, we'll use extension cords. And the problem is when it starts drawing that energy through this extension cord, they're not designed to handle that, and it will start a fire. So anytime that maybe we'll see people throw carpets over the top of these extension cords, and that heat builds up. And so that's another way to start a fire in your home. So don't use extension cords.
But your goal is to ensure that people do what they need to do safely so that you don't have to be called.
The important thing to remember about these space heaters is shut them off when they're not in use. Shut them off when you leave the home. Shut them off when you go to bed. Add more blankets, snuggle a little closer. Now that we're all confined to each other, make sure you wear your mask though. And but snuggle, stay warm that way instead of leaving these space heaters unattended.
Deputy Chief Mike Pruitt with the Barkersville Fire Department, we thank you for this key piece of information on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, Halloween is not even here yet, but the Postal Service is releasing a block of wintry-themed forever stamps. The stamps include 10 beautiful pictures of winter wildlife as well as frosty landscapes. The package is ideal for someone who wants something non-denominational for their holiday cards. But the scenes from the northern U.S. are also for those who love being outdoors in cold weather. Winter doesn't officially begin until the third week of December, but snow has already fallen in states like Minnesota. You can ask for the new stamps at the post office or order them online at USPS.com. Kevin, we didn't get snow, but it was quite frosty this morning.
Yep. Yeah, scraping those windows if you had to get up and at them. And I think again tomorrow morning, especially in the eastern half of the state. This morning, these are the low temperatures. Maybe you outslept the low temperature, but 27 in Terre Haute was the coolest, 29 in Lafayette. Notice western Indiana, a little cooler than the eastern portion of the state. Tomorrow it will be reversed. Eastern Indiana will have the coldest temperatures. That's why there's a freeze warning from Muncie down to Shelbyville and everywhere to the east, and Columbus included in that as well. Richmond should be down into the low 30s, about 31 tomorrow morning. Love this view, just some fair weather cumulus clouds around. Wherever there are clouds around tonight, that'll help keep temperatures from falling off too much, at least to the coldest levels possible. It's still breezy. The winds have gusted over 20 miles per hour. Right now, west anywhere from 10 to 15 with a few exceptions. They'll generally drop below 10 miles per hour as we get through sunset and after. Temperatures, nice recovery from 27 this morning in Terre Haute to 59. That's a current temperature. Eastern portions of the state, Richmond's at 53, Greenfield 54. Temperatures tomorrow morning, again, slightly cooler in eastern Indiana, in the low 30s where the freeze warning's in effect. Western portions of the state just above the freezing mark in most locations, and that's true to the south as well. Then there's a big change. Sunday morning will be in the 40s. Won't be any frost to deal with. As you look at the weekend, the big difference, obviously same temperature, but rain chances late Sunday, and it will be windy Saturday. Winds will gust over 30 miles per hour. If you're trying to rake leaves, you'll also be chasing those leaves to try to corral them and put them in a basket there. The winds out of the southwest will start to increase and then gust to 30 miles per hour, as I mentioned, during the afternoon. Temperature trend with this warmer air moving in goes up. 64 the afternoon high in Indy. Temperatures in western portions of the state in the upper 60s at about 67 in Terre Haute. Sunday, the clouds will increase through the day. Temperatures as we go into the afternoon hours at 64. There are your high temperatures across central Indiana with mostly cloudy skies and the rain chances increasing late in the day. Some clouds in the morning. Here comes the rain, and I stopped this at 9 o'clock, showing a nice little burst of rain along Interstate 70, Terre Haute to Indy and south. All indications are, and this flip-flops a little bit, but the heavier rain to the south, that would be beautiful. If you could pick up 3/4 of an inch or more from Bloomington to Columbus, about 1/4 of an inch in the metro area. Monday, 57, some more rain around. We've broken the trend. At least we're getting opportunities for rain in the forecast. 68 on Wednesday. 7-day forecast, temperatures over the next 7 days. Bounce around a bit. Monday, cooler because of the rain likely. We'll have a chance for some showers, maybe even a thunderstorm as we get to Wednesday at 68. We'll peak next week with a high of 73 on Thursday. Amanda?
The Indy Jazz Fest is making a shift to pandemic proportions. Up next, how organizers plan to keep the music going despite COVID-19. If you are one of the many people exercising on a Peloton during the pandemic, listen up. The company has voluntarily recalled clip-in pedals on 27,000 of the spin bikes due to a risk of injury. There have been more than 100 reports of the pedals breaking and reports of more than a dozen injuries. The recall applies only to first-generation pedals, PR70P. That type of pedal was sold between July of 2013 and May 2016. Peloton says to stop using bikes with that type of pedal and get a replacement from the company. You can check the Peloton website for more info on how to do that. If you're a child of the 60s or 70s, you might remember the soda Tab. It came in a dark pink can and was Coca-Cola's first ever diet soda. Tab has maintained a small but devoted following through the years. However, after nearly 60 years, Tab is being discontinued. Coca-Cola says it's one of several underperforming products being eliminated from its brand lineup by the end of the year. The beverage company is working to streamline production and focus on bestsellers. Like several other planned festivals in 2020, the Indy Jazz Fest has decided to go virtual. The virtual 2020 Indy Jazz Fest will celebrate Naptown with a free 4-part series in November that can be streamed on multiple platforms. Starting Friday, November 13th, festival goers can watch jazz stars perform on INDY'SFest.net, Facebook, or YouTube. Although the Indianapolis Jazz Foundation is offering the event free of charge to the public, it will ask viewers to consider giving a donation. Hand washing is an essential part of the fighting the coronavirus pandemic. Next at 5:30, how a Central Indiana woman's invention is helping provide this necessity to those who need it.